Good evening, race fans. Thank you for tuning into DRL TV. My name is Getty Buckner. I'll be joined tonight by Taylor Butcher Benjamin, and it will be our pleasure to bring you live action of the DRL Truck Series. After having a week off, the DRL Truck Series drivers are set to do battle once again. Race number 14 of the 2019 season takes us to Long Pond, Pennsylvania, deep in the heart of the Pocono Mountains. Famously known as the Tricky Triangle, Pocono Raceway was built in 1969. Its unique design is a result of each turn being modeled after a turn at an already existing track. Turn 1, which has 14 degrees of banking, is modeled after an old Trenton Speedway, a New Jersey-based speedway that actually no longer exists. Turn 2, which is often referred to as the tunnel turn, is modeled after Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which gives it only 9 degrees of banking. The final turn, Turn 3, is modeled after the famous Milwaukee Mile and features just 6 degrees of banking. This massive 2.5-mile super speedway will frustrate these talented drivers more so than any other track this season. For 70 laps or 175 miles, these drivers will have to expertly navigate these completely unique turns that are placed between 3 completely unique straightaways. Alongside me is the voice of the DRL Truck Series, Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Now, Taylor, we talk about the uniqueness of Pocono. What kind of unique challenges does this track bring to a driver?
Well, if you want to talk about a momentum racetrack, this is definitely the top 3 in that category, especially getting off turn 3, which is super flat, like you mentioned, 6 degrees, which leads on to the longest straightaway in all of NASCAR. It's 3,740 feet long, and we're going to be seeing speeds reach up to about, in these trucks, about 185 miles an hour going down into turn 1. So that's really going to be a key spot on this racetrack. Plus the fact you could have some people shifting and some people not, and that might kind of stack things up a little bit, which we have a pretty large field here tonight. 34 drivers, so expect a lot of action tonight. Last night we weren't able to bring the broadcast to our fine fans. The Grand National race actually ran caution free for 75 laps, but I'm not so sure it's going to go caution free tonight.
Well, you mentioned we have a large field tonight, and one of the things about Pocono that is so unique because of just the makeup of the track, it's so hard to pass here, especially in these trucks. And you have to set up your passes, corner exit, and try to drag race them down the straightaways. There's going to be maybe some dive bombing. The tunnel turn is always treacherous. So is the walls here. That's going to be, I think, the biggest thing tonight. We're going to see a lot of wall scraping, especially coming out of turn 2, because you don't, after you exit a turn, you have, a quarter a mile, half a mile almost, it seems like, till your next corner. And sometimes you don't realize how worn these tires can get, especially early on with iRacing kind of re-engineering how the dynamic weather changes the track state. I mean, you're on these straightaways so long, Taylor, the track could be different from one turn to the next.
Yeah, that's something these guys have really got to keep their eyes on. And another spot that I'm going to be watching actually is the exit of turn 1 and down the Long Pond straightaway, because if you look at it, it's actually, the Long Pond straightaway is actually kind of narrow. So if someone bounces off the wall, spins down and collects the inside wall, it could potentially get ricocheted back into the traffic and have a big crash there. So hopefully that doesn't happen tonight, but it's a lot more narrow than some people might think.
No, and that's absolutely right. Another thing that is happening here in iRacing is the implementation of the new Chevy Silverado. As we'll take a look at the new Chevy, this is also a new driver, Robbie Oddie. Welcome to the Dynasty Racing League, sir. And we're taking a look at the brand new re-engineered Chevy, the newest generation. So that will be new tonight. Along with the dynamic weather, iRacing just dropped a massive update for these drivers, and some of those updates are going to affect how you drive here tonight. But if we can, we're going to try to ride along with somebody, and they can show us exactly what Pocono is all about. We're riding on board with our points leader, Jeffrey Meyer in the all-new Chevy Silverado, and this is turn 1.
He clips the apron. As you can tell, he's not shifting. And something that was actually brought to my attention by talking to a couple of drivers, if you notice, based on the design of the window bar, it's actually moved a couple inches over to the left compared to where it is in the Toyota, and that's actually, based on what I've been told, and giving some drivers some fits on how to actually see the corner coming up. So,
well, we see it here. Jeffrey Meyer exiting turn 3. We're going to try to get somebody who's making laps here. Corey Sherman, he heads down the front stretch. We're going to ride on board with Corey Sherman as he heads into, this is turn 1, ladies and gentlemen. This is Trenton Speedway, which is a 1 mile, again, it doesn't exist anymore, but it was a 1 mile oval back in the 80s before it closed down. And this is the straightaway coming out of turn 2 as we enter the tunnel turn. There's a lot of action here. It's deceivingly sharp. If anyone's familiar with Indianapolis Motor Speedway, you know it's a giant rectangle, and that corner gets the best of drivers all the time. And this is turn 3, very, very long. This is probably the most important corner here. Last year, we saw a huge move by Spencer Tart, who's in tonight's race, who won a race because of a move that he set up in that corner. And it also sets up your speed for, as Taylor mentioned, the longest straightaway in NASCAR. Well, Taylor, we got about 3 minutes till qualifying here. Let's bring up the point standings. We can see Jeffrey Meyer has those 3 wins, has starting to gap the field a little bit, but behind him it is an absolute just melee.
It's craziness.
Points are so tight. Austin Collins, last week's winner, gets that win at Charlotte to guarantee his playoff spot. Now with Pocono, some people call it a super speedway, some people call it a roval, some people call it a road course because it's a giant triangle. But with that being said, Pocono is it's one of those tracks where you need a unique skill set. So maybe some of our favorite drivers here aren't going to be near the front. It might be someone, we could have another surprise winner tonight. And we're looking at the practice speeds. Pull up the practice speeds here. This is currently Springer's fastest, but Marvin Wingfield, Steven Sims, Corey Sherman, Robbie Oddie, names that we normally see, within the top 10, but, they've currently put the fastest laps down tonight.
So we got about 2 minutes left until qualifying, and even more drivers joining this field. It's going to be about 36 or 5 people. So
no,
a lot of people that don't run for points in the Truck Series. At least about a dozen or so, maybe even more.
All right, and let's see if we can try to bring in somebody and try to get an interview. Hopefully they're by the microphone. Spencer Tart, do you have a copy, sir?
Yes, sir, I got you.
Well, we just talked about, this is the place where you got that win last year. You were a Truck Series regular. You got that win. It was an incredible finish. But here at Pocono, with the new, the new weather that iRacing has given us this week, and you got the new Chevy that we're looking at, tell us about some of your challenges going into today's race.
Oh yeah, it seems like the truck's a bit different than it's been. It's not the way it drove last year. It feels a little bit more sluggish, so I don't know. There's probably going to be some people downshifting and a bunch of different things. But it feels like you can really drive the car in a couple of different ways into the corner. You can either early apex and roll the center, or get at a late apex and get better out of the corner. So I don't know. It's going to be different. I think there's going to be a lot of different ways of people that are going to run it, and I think it's going to make for an interesting race.
Well, we've got a very large field here, Spencer. Obviously, now you've moved on to bigger and better things as you are now a Cup Series regular. So you're coming back down just for a little visit here today. With a field this size, this is something that a lot of these drivers don't see. They don't see it in official racing. They don't see it in, some of our league racing isn't even this big. with how hard passing can be here, how do you navigate? If you don't have that great of a qualifying effort, how do you navigate through this field?
Well, I think this track really opens up a bunch of different strategy options with 2 tires and things like that, and staying out. So I think there's going to be a bunch of different strategy calls to try to get up to front and hope for caution, or maybe it'll go green flag and it'll be a fuel race. But we'll see. I think that's going to be a big part of it. If you don't qualify well, qualifying is going to be really important here.
Well, we appreciate your time, Spencer. Good luck in qualifying. Hopefully we talk to you either as a pole sitter or a top 3 finisher.
Thank you.
And that's Spencer Tart, part of S2R Racing. A lot of big teams in this field tonight, Taylor. How much can team strategy come into play here as far as like the draft and things of that nature, almost like what we would see at our other super speedways?
It can be very critical as another S2R Cup driver, Thomas Harmon, is in this race and is out taking his qualifying lap right now. And based on how he drove last night in the Xfinity race, or Grand National race, as he won handily, yeah, I'm sure the knowledge that he can provide to Spencer and some others could really pay dividends.
Yeah, no, and Thomas Harmon ran a great race, and he also, we saw him earlier this year when he won at Bristol. So Thomas Harmon, he's no stranger to winning at Pocono. He's also no stranger to winning at in these trucks. And as we're watching Thomas Harmon take his warm-up lap,
very wide arc and apex into turn 3. Reaches about 170 right at the start-finish line.
Now we're riding on board with Thomas Harmon. And one thing, with talking about the visibility here, you can see that stabilization bar is right in his face, and normally it is a little bit more to the right. You almost line it up with where you're sitting. You would mark that as like where the wall is. You kind of use that bar as a reference point for where you are on track, and we could see a couple people hit the wall because maybe they're not aware of how close to the wall they are because of the bar being shifted.
And kind of like what Spencer Tart was looking at was pinpointing. Look at the RPM. I mean, barely even 7,000 going into turn 1, about 6,800 going into turn 3 there.
Yeah, now I don't think we'll see downshifting right away, but as the speeds drop because of tire wear, we definitely could see some downshifting later on in a run. But as we saw at Martinsville and other places where you downshift, it's very easy to lose the rear end if you do it incorrectly. As Thomas Harmon has put up the fastest lap, followed by Chris James, Jordan Berry, Bill Edwards, and Terrence Sine are currently your top 5 fastest qualifiers. We're going to ride with David Lindahl and watch his qualifying attempt here.
In here 7th in the points with 4 top 10s.
Now let's bring up these point standings once more. The top 12 drivers make it into the playoffs on points, and that's of the drivers that don't have wins. So right now, there's a few spots still open, and if you don't win, you have to come in on points. And we're looking at some of these guys that are just below the cutoff in points. Adam Purcell, Marvin Wingfield, Jarrett Rogers, Corey Sherman, all fast drivers that they need to find a way to claw their way in here. So, are we getting to that point in the season, Taylor, where you start seeing more and more drastic moves to try to get that win or get a top 5 to get in a better spot in points?
Yeah, I think so. Right now it's 13. This is our 14th event of the season, and before long, it's only going to be a couple months until the playoffs roll around, and these guys have really got to start accumulating as much points as they can. Regardless if they're on the outside looking in or on the bubble, because guys like Cody Gatsky and Robbie Armstrong and Jordan Berry, they're kind of just barely hanging on to that, and certainly can't afford any trouble, and still got to be as consistent as they can if they're going to claw their way into the playoffs come September. As Robbie Adi has taken the pole away from Thomas Harmon by 1/100th of a second.
Now looking at today's weather, we have 73 ambient temperature. It says it's partly cloudy, but the sky is actually pretty clear right now. Taylor, do you have a grasp on what the track temperature is currently?
Right now it's 98, and actually a wind's about 4 miles an hour. And that's kind of going from south to southwest, but that's good to wrap it up for qualifying. And Robbie Adi, his DRL debut, and he's on the pole.
Yep, and we will try to pull in Robbie Adi and get an interview with him. One second.
What Discord channel he's in here?
I got him. Hey, Robbie, this is DRL TV. Do you got a copy, sir? Oh, well, I guess Robbie is away from the mic. We'll try to perhaps talk to him a little bit later. But DRL TV is going to take a quick commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. When we get back, we will have the green flag, 70 laps here at Pocono Raceway here in Pennsylvania. It's a beautiful day. Should be a beautiful, exciting day of racing. When we return, action.
To the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing.
Lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch in. Pit press.
He
What a save.
Look to the outside as Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's Howling down to the inside.
trying this contact though. Slide left of the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe. Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schumacher, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pocono 175. Qualifying is done. We are pacing and getting ready to get the green flag. We will get the grid started for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have Robbie Adi on the pole in his DRL debut. Thomas Harmon in second. That is last night's winner. Spencer Tart, last year's winner. In the second row, Adam Faree, Jeffrey Meyer. And other notables in the back of the field, Taylor, as you just mentioned off air, Jeremy Hebel is starting near the rear of the field, along with some other notable drivers. So as we talked to Spencer Tart earlier, might have to see some strategy in order for him to get back up to the front.
And that is very interesting decision making by both Hebel and his teammate Wilkins. It's quite a hike they're gonna have to make from 34th to the front. I actually gonna have a hard time catching the back of the field here as we're into turn 3.
As you can see, they're taking that turn. Pace car getting ready to duck off, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have green flag racing here in the Pocono 125 DRL Truck Series. Green flag is out.
Robbie didn't get the best start. Thomas Harmon with the advantage. And he's going to clear Audi before they get to turn 1.
Adam Faree slides up. Spencer Tart tries to cross him over. We're going to see that move pretty much all day today. People over driving. as they're all snaking down this long pond straightaway, heading into the tunnel turn. Thomas Harmon takes the lead from Adi and looks to hang on and lead that first lap here as Adi does look inside.
Another guy to watch out for that started towards the back is Casey Drake. Started back in 21st, but he's making some moves early underneath Corey Sherman. Thomas Harmon's going to lead lap 1. Trying to break the draft from Adi, who looks like he's going to duck to the inside. No, he's going to stay in line going into turn 1. I feel like already at this point in the race, you got to be thinking about what you're going to do as far as pit strategy, because last night we saw it was a 75-lap race, and we saw the two-stop strategy, split it into thirds, win this race. Although we did have some drivers stretch the fuel and make it on one stop, the highest driver that pulled that strategy off was the first and fifth. So,
and we're looking.
Adi takes the lead from Harmon.
We've got Adi taking the lead. We also have a great battle back here for 5th and back. We're currently watching Jeffrey Meyer. He got passed by Bill Edwards. That is for 6th and 7th. Steven Sims is in 5th. And Casey Drake, let's fall back in with him as he is fighting through and trying to get that 13th spot after starting 21st. And because of the tire wear here, Taylor, we're going to see the most aggressive moves.
Oh, neck code right there.
We're going to see the most aggressive moves on this restart. I mean, that's any series. That's always the case when you come to Pocono.
See just how difficult it is to run side by side through the tunnel turn. As you saw PJ O'Leary in front of him. Kind of like when we talk about Indianapolis and how turn 2 is not only shaped like Indianapolis, it drives the same too. I mean, if you get just outside that gray, or you get into that gray, out of the groove, it's tough to keep it off the wall. With some contact up there between, that was Adam Purcell. He actually got, that was Jeffrey Meyer that kind of got underneath him and kind of put him up the racetrack.
Now 4 laps into the 70-lap race here at Pocono, and we're still seeing a lot of double file racing all around the track. Generally, Pocono is one of those tracks, kind of like Indianapolis, where it goes single file pretty quick, but so, a lot of people still battling, and you got to be careful with your tire wear here. As Robbie Adi.
Oh, trouble!
Is a 57.
Barry got turned into the inside wall by Roy Grande Jr.
Let's back that up. I'm not sure. Let's try to back that up and see what happened there. It seemed like Grande just went up into him. Let's see.
Well, they were all stacked up going into turn 3 with Casey Drake in front of a couple of drivers. Grande tried to make himself a hole down there along the rumble strips down there in turn 3. And then, that was a severe misjudgment, it looks like.
And
Jordan Berry's going to say he just flat out got turned, and can't really disagree with him.
No, it almost looked like, because we know how important the draft is here, it almost looked like, Grande was trying to get back, in line.
Oh, yeah, that's no doubt what he was trying to do, but I mean, if you're not clear of the driver, then you still got to make sure that you're not going to clip him on the way as you tuck in behind him. But based on the damage sustained, Grande didn't come out of that great either. A lot of right side damage as he slapped it up against the wall.
Now, Jordan Berry, that's going to be a huge hit. We're going to bring up this point standings one more time, and he is in 12th. He is in 12th. So this
literally
could be
right on the bubble. So yeah, that's
and with three,
tough deal.
there's just a few drivers that are just a couple points behind him. That could be a big hit for Jordan Berry.
Free, who has a win that's outside the top 12 right now. So that's not what he was looking for, I'm sure.
Well, as we are only 6 laps in, I think we're going to see some pit strategy here, Taylor. We're going to see who from the back, maybe a Jeremy Hebel who's in 27th, maybe take 2 tires here. And of course, I mean, it wouldn't be a race without, someone's trying to stay out and lead a lap.
Harmon, very last second, decides to come in. He was going to be the first driver out there without anybody coming with him. See one driver staying out. And that's David Wellborn Jr.
So we will see who here takes 2, if anyone. We see one driver stay out. Again, that is David Wellborn. And now the pit road here at Pocono is really not too terribly difficult of a place to navigate. I don't really see.
Easily wins the race off pit road. Well, we've been talking about this a couple times with David Wellborn staying out on the track, but here at Pocono, if he can survive, if he stays out on the track and takes the green as the restart without stopping under caution here, like if he can survive this first lap, then he could come in the very next lap and stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, you can pit under green here and not lose a lap.
Yeah, it's about, I think, you have to be within like 10 or 11 seconds of the leader to make that work.
Well, lap 7 of 70 are in the books, ladies and gentlemen. DRL TV is going to take a quick commercial break. When we return, we will get set for our second restart or our first restart of the day, technically, and we will see what these drivers can do just 7 laps into this 70-lap race here in the Pocono 170.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to DRL TV. We are circling lap 8 of 70 here in the Dynasty Racing League Truck Series.
Oh my gosh. We just had some contact with Robbie Oddie and David Wellborn Jr. on the front row in the tunnel turn under caution here.
Well, it's certainly never a lack of excitement here at Pocono as we are watching the leaders getting ready to take the green flag as the pace car lights are off. And Wellborn leads the field to the green flag.
Let's see what kind of start he gets, because we saw Robbie Oddie not get the greatest start, whether he mistimed it or just didn't get going on the outside.
A little bit of a checkup there on the outside line behind the leaders. And we're seeing everyone's fan out and try to get as many points or as many positions here heading into turn 1 as possible.
They are 3 wide for second place as they try to negotiate past Wellborn. That sorts out for the moment.
Yeah, this could be interesting heading into the tunnel turn. As Rabbiati retakes the lead, Thomas Harmon just behind. Spencer Tart blocks Marvin Wingfield, who is trying to take that 3rd position away.
Steven Sims cut it down under the yellow line. They're 3 wide here as they approach turn 3. See how long Wellborn actually stays out on the track, or if he's just... Maybe he doesn't come in this time. Maybe he's just going to wait for another caution flag, perhaps, as long as it's not him.
We're riding with the 21 of Richard Springer.
Looking at Adam Purcell way down by the inside wall. He's got a really shallow entry into turn 1.
And so this is what the mayhem looks back here, kind of in the middle of the pack. Here at Pocono, Richard Springer 21st, trying to find his way back up to the front. We know he had a lot of speed in practice. Didn't quite get it done in qualifying.
Looking at Jeremy Hebel back at the back of the field still, flying around back here in 32nd.
And they are 3 wide in turn 2 as David Lindahl decides to back out of that. Now the leaders have kind of got strung out here in the top 5. Just behind them, though, we've got, I believe that's Austin Cothran trying to take a spot away from the 29 of Adam Faree. And that is for 6th position. Just behind them, Chris James, who is a Cup regular. He currently sits in 8th place. So, unlike the first restart, Taylor, this start much less chaotic. The drivers do get kind of single file, as expected, a little bit sooner than they did in the first start. As Cothran does take that spot away from the 29, but that opens the door for the 82 to get underneath Adam Faree.
Talk about the intensity on the restarts. That's going to, simple fact, it's going to get more chaotic as the race goes along. And something to talk about, with the new, since we're in season 3 with the new update, our Dynasty Racing League declared the other day that if we are under caution at the white flag, at the advertised distance as Faree scrapes the wall, then we will have 1 attempt at a green-white checkered.
Yep, green-white checkered. This is new to iRacing. You can have several attempts. Dynasty Racing League has started out with just giving these drivers 1 attempt at the green-white checkered, as we're watching Jeffrey Meyer hold off the advancement of Bill Edwards in the 52. Jeffrey Meyer, again, our points leader here, trying to extend that already large points lead of his tonight.
They came in here with a 76-point lead over PJ O'Leary and everybody else. Well, he is getting tight back there behind him, though. Guys like Corey Sherman and Robbie Armstrong has joined that battle. Oh, saw someone really get sideways off turn 1.
Now let's go back here. Let's go back here in the pack. Here, oh, it looks like Trent Helt a little loose there. Looking at Dakota Wilkins, our Daytona winner this season. Secured a spot in the playoffs. He's trying to hang on to the 22nd spot. PJ O'Leary, 23rd, just behind him. And William Wingfield in 24th.
Well, that's all going on in the back. Thomas Harmon and Rabbiati are side by side for the lead. Opened up a big gap back to Steven Sims, about 1.7 seconds, and he's being challenged by Spencer Tart for that 3rd position.
Again, watching Spencer Tart here, looks like he has a little bit of right front damage already. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm seeing a lot of people just either barely missed the safer barrier on the exit of 2 or scrape it slightly. We got a caution. Looks like William Wingfield involved in this one. Both he and Dustin Jones in the 39 truck. Dustin got a tap from William, and wow, you gotta look at how Jeremy Hebel threaded the needle through that one.
Trying to get this replay for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Fairly back in the field, about 23rd, 24th is where this took place. Actually, Hebel did kind of clip the right rear of Wingfield's truck as he spun.
It looks like he did get a little bit of damage. We're looking at the aftermath, trying to get back far enough to see the replay here. Not sure if it is going to cooperate. However, we do know that the 83 of William Wingfield, the 39 of Dustin Jones were involved.
Well, that was what I was concerned about when I saw that Jeremy Hebel had qualified, well, taking a slow lap on purpose so we can qualify in the back. I mean, that's what I was afraid of, for him to get caught up in something like this. I mean, he got out of it relatively okay, but
Now with this last stint being just 7 laps, again, we could see some pit strategy here. DRL TV is going to take a quick commercial break, and we are going to catch up with any pit strategy here in just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, DRL TV will return in just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to DRL TV. We do have a replay of that last caution as we were looking at the 83. Just kind of gets underneath the 39 and kind of just turns him. Also, the 39 gets into the 91 of Brett Kingcott.
yeah, Brent Kingcock's been on pit road for an extended period of time getting damage fixed as he got sent into the inside wall with not much place to go. But the big loser on these pit stops was Spencer Tart. Entered 4th and slid through the box ever so slightly, but that was enough to kick him back 7 spots to 11th.
Yeah, but so far we haven't really seen any of that strategy that we thought we would see with these.
The only strategy we've seen so far is floor and fuel.
Yeah, so obviously these drivers are very aware of how much grip these tires, give up in just a few laps, because that was just 7 laps. Part of the problem with this track here at Pocono is we say it's only 3 turns, and when we go to most ovals, we say it's 4. But realistically, when we go to an oval, it's basically 2 turns, and this is 3. So you're asking that right front to dive into an additional corner, versus like if we go to an Atlanta or a Charlotte, or next week when you go to Texas, you only do it twice. So these right sides are definitely going to be a priority. I'm very surprised. Maybe these left sides are actually taking a lot more wear, because we've seen at Pocono a lot across all the series through the years. We've seen a lot of 2-tire stops. No tire stops sometimes.
I'm not so sure how much we're going to see of that today, though. But I should mention Trent Helt is getting put to the back of the field. He's got some front end damage, along with William Wingfield also getting an EOL as they double up for the restart. It'll be 53 to go. Should be able to make it on one more stop if we go green the rest of the way.
Yeah, fuel run here in the B car was about 33 laps. And with the truck, it might be just a little bit more. So either way, I know we're not in our fuel window just yet. Magic number I'm looking for is probably 30, 35, just to be safe. This is one of those tracks where, if you're a little short on gas and you have to save gas here, it's absolutely agonizing, because the way that you save gas is, you shut the engine off on the straightaway, or you push the clutch in, or you just back your corners way up. And when you're trying to set up speed for these 3 enormous straightaways, that just absolutely kills you. So I know all these drivers prefer to get, in the safe zone, which I'm going to say is 30 laps to go. We know that these guys can make it on gas. Now looking up here at the running order, we have Thomas Harmon, Robbie Oddie, Marvin Wingfield is being scored in 3rd for me, Steven Sims, Chris James, Austin Cothran up near the front, Jeffrey Meyer, Bill Edwards, and Spencer Tart, Adam Faria. Those are your top 10 drivers so far here in the Pocono 175. As we are set to go green, we'll see if the leader can get a little bit better start than they have in restarts past here. And they're gone.
He's going to get a bump from Stevens. Now behind him, that's Adam. Once again, way down.
So 2x2 battle for the lead coming out of 1. Harmon climbs the track, tries to hold off the advancing Robbie Oddie. As you can see, this field 2x2 almost all the way back, heading into that treacherous tunnel turn.
Bunched up in the entrance to this tunnel turn. This looks like it could be trouble. I mean, it's so difficult to navigate. I mean, it's difficult to navigate it anyway, even by yourself. But the way people drive the corner with their different braking points and throttle pickup points, I mean, it would be very difficult to judge what's going on.
Well, I know, as a driver myself, I like to back up the corners a little bit more and get that run off. And if someone's not ready for that, you're going to tag that person that is, letting off earlier than you expect. As of right now, though, the top 6, I believe, are all single file. The closest battle to towards the leaders is Spencer Tart, trying to take a spot away from Chris James, trying to rebound after that poor pit stop. I believe he was up to 3rd before that pit stop and trying to get back up there. So that's a tall task for Spencer.
Like he said in his interview, track position is extremely critical here. He's already picked up 2 spots since the restart. entered another spot right here with Bill Edwards, his teammate.
Now everyone just about single file, except for that battle with Spencer trying to take that spot away. As he dives down into turn 1, slides in front of Bill.
Just behind him, Adam Fareed alongside Chris James for just inside the top 10 there.
Now that little bit of damage that... What you got, Taylor?
It was a close call with Chris and Adam going into turn 2 there. Well, I was going to say the track temperature is dropped. Like it was 99, 98 in qualifying. Right now it's 94.
Watching this battle between Chris James and Bill Edwards as they head towards turn 1. Just behind him, Corey Sherman trying to take a spot away from Adam Fareed. Now, I was just going to mention a second ago, Robbie Oddie, he did get a little bit of damage there when he and David Wellborn crossed paths while pacing. It doesn't seem to be affecting him all that much, as he is the lead car, cutting all the wind for everyone else. It doesn't seem to be slowing him down all too much, as Thomas Harmon is relegated behind him by 0.2 of a second.
And clean air is also extremely important here, although Thomas Harmon and Steven Sims aren't letting them get away. And we're starting to get the field kind of strung out just a little bit.
Yeah, watching this battle with Chris James and Adam Fareed, though, that is absolutely epic battle. Very hard to stay side by side around this. Oh,
they got
contact!
Chris James drifting it through turn 1. Makes a terrific save.
Wow, what a save.
Oh, big wreck now in the back. Somebody flipping. Bunch of trucks involved in that one. Craig Meyer and Dustin Eichert. Jared Rogers got a big piece of that. Dustin Eichert ended up on his lid.
And you
David
see
Lindahl got some damage. And also PJ O'Leary, our second place points man.
we're trying to get that replay to you now. We saw a little bit of the aftermath as we were watching that Chris James replay.
Well, I was trying to think. I was wondering if it was maybe a checkup from watching Chris James try to regain control of his truck. But I think they were probably too far back for that to play a role. But whatever happened back there, God, it was huge.
Here we are watching the 25 of Craig Meyer dive into turn 1. It looks like the 7 kind of pushes up and spins the 25.
That kind of looked exactly what happened with Fareed and James. Just a little bit further down the track. Boy, Dustin Eichert paid the price big time.
Well, now part of the problem is you mentioned different braking points. There's also different lines. So, I mean, it looks like Craig Meyer had plenty of room to run out to the wall, and Dustin Eichert kind of got into him, like, you know, similar to that what happened with Chris James. So, you know, it's just another miscalculation of, you know, you're trying to guess what that driver is going to do, and you just can't do it. It's very, very hard. Because Pocono, it's just, you know, I'm going to beat this word to death today, but it's so unique. The challenges that it brings are absolutely just unlike anything that you would see at what you consider an oval track. But as these drivers cycle through their pit stops, DRL TV is going to take a quick commercial break. When we get back, we will reset the field and get back to green flag racing here in the Pocono 175. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to DRL TV. This is the Pocono 175. We are just 27 laps into this 70-lap race. A beautiful day here in Pennsylvania. Next week, the series takes on Texas Motor Speedway. Phenomenal race. We have 100 laps in store at the same time next Wednesday, June 12th. Broadcast will start at the usual time, and we will see what driver can conquer the fast mile and a half of Texas Motor Speedway. Our next broadcast after this one tonight, it will be on Monday, taking on Michigan in the Cup car with the new package and that 2 mile oval. That is going to be fun to watch, absolutely for sure. As we are just set to go green, still getting ready to round turn 3. If you like this broadcast or any broadcast of DRL TV does throughout the week, again, we have the Cup Series, the B Series, and then tonight's series for the trucks. Please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the bell icon. That way you can be notified anytime we go live. You can watch your favorite driver or your favorite broadcasters. I don't know. What do you think, Taylor?
Well, watch them both. I mean, we both compete. Well, let's do this.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Thomas Harmon won the battle off pit road, and he will lead the field to the green. Oh, stack up. Huge stack up.
Yeah, you mentioned Adam Purcell took 2 tires on that pit stop. He's caused a big-time accordion effect behind him.
Spencer Tart gets the worst end of that, as he had to check up. And he's going to lose several spots, all those spots that he gained back.
Oh, Casey Drake into the wall, climbs the wall a little bit, trying to stay out of everyone's way. He is dripped into the back. Look at Spencer slicing between Terrence Ane and Daniel Holloway. Oh, it's an aggressive move, but he makes it work.
All the leaders have just about gone single file here. Robbie Oddie, new to the Dynasty Racing League, trying to get that lead back from the 68 of Thomas Harvin. Steven Sims, who we've mentioned his name a couple. Oh, he gets turned.
Oddie keeps it out against the wall, lets everybody go by, but my gosh.
Let's take a quick replay of that. Sims tries to dodge.
Look out, they're wrecking again. David Wellborn, Robbie Oddie, Richard Springer, Craig Meyer. Oh my gosh.
So
one again.
We're going to stick with this. We see Robbie Oddie. He gets tagged from the 79 of Sims, who's trying to avoid the checkup.
Yeah, Harmon wiggled off turn 3, and that's what got
And
Oddie all out of shape.
Springer actually ended up turning Oddie, and Oddie's day as a DRL race driver ends in huge disappointment.
Everybody was trying to go for the same piece of real estate, trying to get around Oddie, and just ran out of room.
Wellborn
Wellborn came together. Chris James got involved. Roy Grande, a lot of people piling in from behind.
The 82 of Chris James, who was up near the front, and let's try to watch this one more time here from David Wellborn's perspective. Yeah, it looks like he gets turned or runs into the 21 of Springer, and then after that, there's just nowhere to go. Grande is, kind of joins the party a little late there. My goodness.
And just that tremendous loss of momentum that Oddie had when he got turned into the wall by Sims. I mean, it just everyone trying to start and move around and find a space to negotiate past him. I mean, just ran into a bit of a bottleneck there.
Yeah,
and to tear up a lot of trucks.
That all started back when Thomas Harmon, ran a little wide off of turn 1, had to check up. Ott checks up, and Steven Sims tries to check up and also capitalize and make that pass, and it just got him a little bit into that wall. And heading down that straightaway, you would think that people would be ready for that slower truck, but apparently they were not, as a Wellborn kind of got into or got turned by the 21 of Richard Springer there, and my goodness, that took out a lot of trucks. You know, everyone was. I mean, that's full speed.
Everyone that got involved. I mean, basically, they've received enough damage where if they're able to continue, which a lot of them I don't think will. Like, even if they do, I mean, they're severely compromised, and their day is pretty much over as far as getting a good finish.
It was funny. I was just getting ready to talk about Steven Sims. I was going to say before that incident, he's been up in the top 3, top 4 all day, and we haven't really said his name, but we have now as he takes.
Something happened to Thomas Harmon. I don't think he moved all the way up in his pit stall before his crew began to work on his truck, and he's going to lose quite a bit of spots.
No, that's going to give Steven Sims the lead. So if we weren't talking about him before, we're certainly talking about him now, as Steven Sims is our new leader with Jeffrey Meyer all the way up to second now.
Yeah, Harmon, after that pit miscue, not pulling up all the way in his box, he dropped to 9th.
Now, look who's in 5th place. Take a look. Take a look who's in 5th place, everybody. Jeremy Hebel, who we've mentioned.
Even with the little damage on their right rear.
Questioning his strategy all day. There's one way to make us look foolish, and that's to prove us wrong 100%. And so far, he is doing that as he is up to 5th. Bill Edwards in 6th, and there's a lot of two-tire stops there. Steven Sims, Jeffrey Meyer, and Daniel Holloway all take 2. Marvin Wingfield does as well, and that we will have a completely new top 5 with the exception of Steven Sims.
Well, another driver besides Thomas Harmon that was the big loser on the stops is Adam Ferree, as he pulled down to the inside and stopped, as he apparently got a speeding penalty.
And Adam Ferree took 2 tires as well, so not only is he going to be in the back of the pack, but he's only going to have 2 tires. Well, maybe he'll pit again, but
he might as well just come back down and get the other 2 since he'll be back there. But
and we were looking for that magic number. I don't think we're there yet for fuel. You know, if this goes green till the end.
I don't think so either.
But as these guys are pacing, ladies and gentlemen, DRL TV is going to take a commercial break. When we get back, more green flag racing here from Pocono Raceway when we return. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pocono 175. Huge wreck takes out several people, and that right there is that's a game changer, especially for the fact that it opened up the door for a lot of pit strategy, which completely changes the complexion of the top 5. You know, it enters Jeremy Hebel to the top 5 where he has a little bit of damage. We have guys with 4 tires just behind him. It's going to be very, very interesting here to see what happens. But one thing we do know for sure is that these top 5 drivers have tried, this is going to be our first time really seeing this much strategy. We're going to see how it pays off. There's only a couple laps of green flag racing, so shouldn't be in too bad a shape. As Steven Sims is our leader, he elects to take the outside.
We got something going on in the back of the field, and race control is delaying the green. Some scoring issues back there. I mentioned Adam Farid. He must not have gotten a speeding penalty because we see him back up in 5th. I saw him pull to the inside and let everyone go, but whatever the case, he's back up here. And quietly, and look at this, Getty, very quietly, all of a sudden, we have Bad Boys Racing, 1st, 2nd, 3rd.
Well, I mentioned briefly, do you think there's a team strategy involved here? And maybe not, but it's not I don't know if it's a coincidence that those guys are 1, 2, 3. Being able to communicate with your team and, have the same pit strategy. I actually was involved in a situation in a race earlier this season where, I was actually leading a race at ISM, and the entire S2R team decided to take 2 tires. And that was a pit strategy team-wide by them, and it put me in the back, and instead of winning a race, I actually didn't. It actually allowed the S2R teammate to win the race. So we see it, we've seen it before. Obviously, that was in the closing laps of that race. This race, we still have plenty of laps to go. We're just at halfway now. But, when you take, when there's just a couple laps on your tires, I have no issues with that call at all. The only issue that we have now is, can we go green flag racing and get a good stint on and allow these guys to, run their tires out and kind of see what they've got for, for long run speed. We haven't really seen that long run yet.
And we've only had the longest run's only been about 6-7 laps. But up front, Steven Sims is going to control this restart with Jeffrey Meyer and Daniel Holloway.
And we still have several trucks on the lead lap too, so any mistake that's made now is going to be very, very costly, as Steven Sims gets a good jump there.
Yeah, despite that huge wreck, we still have 27 trucks on the lead lap, like you mentioned, Getty. Although some of them are quite torn up. But we got more contact in the pack. Here comes Jeffrey Meyer for the lead. Got a good run on Sims off turn 1, and he's going to take it going into the tunnel turn.
And currently Marvin Wingfield is in the middle of that bad boy sandwich, trying to ruin their team party here, up in 3rd. He practiced well. So I think, Marvin Wingfield, he's got the truck to get it done, as we've tried to capitalize on Thomas Harmon trying to have to make his way through the field. Could have a new race favorite here emerging as Marvin Wingfield looks to the inside of Sims going into turn 1.
Thomas Harmon, after leading a majority of the first stint with Rabbiati, who's now out. After that pit road issue. Oh, got trouble again in turn 1. Casey Drake was involved in the beginning of that, looks like. He got together with, who was that truck? It's Cody Barber in the 28. And another Cody got involved. Cody Gatsky in the 27 ran into Barber.
We'll get that replay for you. Yeah, and that is a significant amount of damage on that 27 Chevy.
As I was starting to say before that crash began, mentioned Harmon after the issue on pit road, he hasn't made up any ground since there's restart. He restarted 9th and is still running at 9th, so see what kind of truck he has to pass others and get back up there if he can.
Looking there, it looked like Casey Drake actually might have caused that wreck. Looks like he kind of got on the apron here. As we're going to check and look at this one more time. From Casey Drake's truck, he dives to the inside, hits that apron, hops up, and right into the... Yeah, Cody Gatsky had nowhere to go there on that one. He was just kind of on the outside trying to get around it.
Yeah, well, Drake didn't have the best angle getting into turn number 1. He had made it 3 wide, put Jarrett Rogers in the middle. He looked, I mean, just that little clip of the apron sent him up the track.
Yeah, I mean, for a split second, you could almost see it. I mean, his truck almost seemed to go airborne, or it lifted 2 tires off the ground at least. And that's going to be a big hit for Casey Drake in more ways than one, because now he has damage, and almost certainly he will get the EOL, so he's going to have to make his way through the field once again. We've seen Flash...
He actually might have had some minor damage even before that, so... But yeah, you're right. He's got his work cut out for him now. After the terrific start to this season, he's kind of had a few races not go his way recently.
Well, several trucks decide to come down. Several trucks decide to stay out. The leader stays out. Marvin Wingfield stays out. Jeremy Hebel will stay out as well. So this is going to put... this is going to be even more strategy now, and our defending truck champion Robbie Armstrong finally cracks the top 5 tonight.
Well, amongst those that pitted include Meyer and Harmon. Holloway pitted. Corey Sherman. Adam Faree, yeah, so this is going to be very interesting here. These guys don't have many laps on their tires.
Well,
based
and
on the guys that stayed out.
It was just a few green flag laps ago that Thomas Harmon was leading this race. He is now 15th. So I mean that's a big jump for him. And on the opposite end of that, just a few green flag laps ago, Jeremy Hebel was back where Thomas Harmon was, and now he currently sits in the 3rd position. Just behind Marvin Wingfield, who is having a very impressive performance. Steven Sims.
We got Spencer Tart stopped on the racetrack here on the apron of turn 1. I don't think he pitted, so not sure what's going on there. Just gonna get it fired up and rejoin. I would assume get back where he was running. That's the difference between iRacing and racing in real life, is you can stop over there and maintain your spot, where if you were to pull over and stop in real life, you would get sent to the back of the field for not maintaining a caution flag speed. Now, Getty, for those that did pit,
I think they've reached the magic number. Also, with Steve Sims and some of these leaders, if they're doing a good job saving, I think they could be well in the fuel window. If we get one more caution, we're good to go on gas, even if you don't pit again, because you can save enough around this 2.5 mile super speedway. You can save a decent amount of fuel sitting here pacing at 70 miles an hour behind that beautiful Mustang pace car. And as beautiful as it is, Taylor, I think we've seen it just a little bit too much tonight here at Pocono.
Yeah, I think he actually might have the award for leading the most laps so far.
Yep, and as disappointing as that is, we have a huge field here tonight, and it just opens the door, with so many different so many different drivers. We have iRatings in this field that go from 4,000 all the way down to 800. So there's a large skill gap here, and different strategies, different driving styles. We've seen aggressive moves by Spencer Tart. Thomas Harmon, is an aggressive, fast driver, and we've also seen, some mental errors. So it does open the door for these yellows at Pocono. Last night's race here in the DRL, it went caution free. In Monday's race, which was delayed due to iRacing server issues, we had a wreck almost before we got to the start-finish line. So we
had 2 cautions in the first 10 laps, I believe.
So it's you just never know what you're going to get when you fire up iRacing and you get into a race.
Expect the unexpected. Put a long story short.
Right. And last race at Charlotte, it ended with a nice green flag run after a few cautions, so we could still get that here tonight. We're running lap 40 of 70. The pace car lights are off, so we are getting the 1 to go. And
to put it in perspective, think of the real life Gander Outdoors Truck Series race in 2016, I believe. There were 9 cautions in a 60-lap truck race, and the longest green flag, I looked back and did some research here, and the longest green flag run in that race was 6 laps. So, even for professionals in real life, this could happen to them.
No, and absolutely, and all these, most of the cautions that we've seen, with the exception of maybe William Wingfield getting into Dustin Jones, are just little tiny mental errors. It's not like over-aggressive driving. It's just one little slip-up, and we saw that one little slip-up. We've seen trucks literally flipping because of one little tiny, error. We haven't really seen a whole lot of dive bombing or anything like that. It's just, Pocono, it is what it is here, I guess is the best way you can say it. It's a giant triangle track.
Yeah, they definitely don't call it the tricky triangle for no reason at all. But
Yeah.
Right now, we're going to get the restart. Steven Sims out front. Going to be 30 laps to go, so if these guys have saved the amount of fuel that we would think they would at least try to save fuel, could make it all the way. Sims gets out to a good start.
Now, we've seen Sims get out to great restarts so far in the last 2 starts where he's been leading. A much smoother restart, no checkup there. Marvin Wingfield, we're going to see people attack. They're going to attack now as he crosses over to 79.
He's going to have the position getting into the tunnel turn. I believe he's far enough alongside him.
And I said earlier, that wasn't the last time we were going to see that crossover move done, and the 19 kind of pushes up a little bit there. He has to let off the throttle, which gives 79 the advantage.
Oh, another caution in the back. This time it was Adam Breeden. Well, that looked bizarre. All the way up on the Long Pond straightaway. Before even getting to the tunnel turn, we see him spinning down towards the inside wall and hitting it.
Yeah, that could have been a situation with maybe too much rear brake, which is something that you normally have the pretty aggressive rear brake here at Pocono to try to help these trucks rotate through these 3 very flat turns. So, does anyone pit now? I can't imagine. So, and this is going to put everyone in the fuel window for sure, as we are pacing yet again. Lap 42 of 70, single car spin of the 01 of Adam Breeden.
I'm looking back through these drivers through their cockpit views, and I don't really see anybody clutching it.
Well, as we mentioned, this is the Pocono 175 here on DRL TV for the Truck Series Again, next week we go to Texas Motor Speedway. Very high banked, but also in the same way here at Pocono, very difficult to pass in these trucks. We're going to go for 100 laps at that 1.5 mile high banked oval. Also, speaking of ovals, next Monday, the Cup Series, our Elite Series, takes on Michigan with the new Cup package. As we see, lots of drivers faking the pit road move. Very nice. But with that,
a couple of drivers actually further in the back actually coming in.
But with Michigan, you get that with the new Cup car, you get that feeling of the unknown, because you're not obviously we give these drivers all week to practice during official racing, but when you get into a league race, it's a completely different ballgame from official racings. The competition is much more fierce. The fields are generally bigger, and we're going to be able to broadcast it with that new Cup package. Every time we're going to these new tracks, it's something unique, as we saw. I'm trying to think of different tracks where we've seen it just be so different, like Dover. The Cup car, it was like driving a go-kart almost, where you didn't really even have to use a brake, and it's very, very interesting with that Cup car anytime. So if you are interested in watching that broadcast on Monday, please make sure that you hit the likes, the subscribe button there, the bell icon, and you will be alerted when we go live on Monday for that nice Michigan track. And Michigan's one of those driver favorites too, Taylor. So there's going to be a lot of drivers there pushing to win.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, based on a league race of a different kind that I ran with the Michigan Cup cars a few weeks ago, it's going to be pretty insane.
And we saw last week at Charlotte, just even some of our best veteran drivers making these small little errors in that Cup car because it's so different from what we had before. So make sure you tune in on Monday, and you'll see the best of the best take on Michigan. And then again, next week in this series, we'll be at Texas for the trucks, which, man, I remember last year at Texas, it was kind of, we had, I think it was 200 laps. It was a very long race, and there was a lot of cautions because it was so hard to pass. And coming out of turn 1 at Texas, or turn 1 and 2, it's a sight to behold for sure, as watching these trucks try to stay away from that wall.
And if you recall, last year ended in what it was supposed to be a one-lap shootout before a caution flag derailed that, and Mike Springer ended up taking the win. Yeah, but it's, again, long story short, it's not a race you're going to want to miss next week.
No, absolutely not. And we're getting to that point now where we've seen it the last few weeks, especially here in the Truck Series, with how big these fields are. People are, the moves that they're trying to make are a lot bolder, because we're getting down to that point now where the point standings are going to start taking shape. As we pull up these point standings and look at kind of what's going on, our second place in the standings is PJ O'Leary, and that's going to be a big hit for him, as he currently is in 31st position. Jeremy Hebel, Daniel Holloway, Dakota Wilkins, Casey Drake might take another hit here. David Lindahl could make some moves, as could Robbie Armstrong, Cody Gatsky.
This could be huge for Marvin Wingfield too, if he can stay up here, because he enters this race 14th, and with the issues that Jordan Berry had earlier, both he and Adam Purcell running in 4th. I mean,
yep.
Who was also just on the outside looking in, just behind the cutoff line. I mean, if they get solid finishes here, they could help their cause tremendously.
I mean, we've got 7 series winners, so those 7 drivers are locked in as of right now. And so if we're taking 12 to the playoffs, that's only a few spots that are available. And if you were to pick a driver that is maybe in danger of not making the playoffs due to maybe recent performance, I mean, who do you have?
Well, there's a couple of drivers. I'm looking at Cody Gasky. I mean, he runs okay. He just seems to get caught up in a lot of other people's misfortune. I mean, he's not one of those guys that's going to be flashy up towards the front all the time, but is usually when he can get clean races and stay out of people's trouble. I mean, he can get solid top 10s, 12s in that area. So, of course, the bad luck bit him tonight, though. So.
Yeah, and one driver that I'm looking at right now, who actually held the points lead earlier this season, is Casey Drake. He's got to find a way to rebound. He's obviously in the points right now, but if this momentum maintains for him, he could be in the outside looking in, and this beautiful season of his, could come to not an early end, but it could become, it would end in disappointment for sure, as he has been one of the faster trucks through the first half, but the last 3-4 races, luck has not been on his side.
Yeah, Talladega, he ran into some issues, and at Charlotte, he got caught up in a crash. At Auto Club as well, but we get the restart here.
And Sims gets that decent jump there, and Marvin Wingfield is going to be side by side with Jeremy Hebel heading into turn 1. Purcell trying to push him down, and Robbie Armstrong rounds out our top 5 as we head.
Wingfield's clear low if he wants to take it, but he's going to slide in right behind Sims. Oh, everybody's
I think he's going to
We got another spinner. There goes the field again. Jared Rogers, Thomas Harmon. Although I'm not so sure. Yeah, Harmon did get some damage on the right rear.
All right, we're watching Jared Rogers go into turn 1 here. He is high. Oh, there's actually a spin in front of him. Yes. It is Thomas Harmon who gets spun. So let's
even further in front of him. It's Austin Cothran. He got a bump from Spencer Tart after it looked like Cothran got on the apron. Cothran drives out of it, but it breaks loose behind him. Boy, Terrence and Hay, he's had a couple really lucky moments tonight. Just another one.
So we'll take a look out of the cockpit of Spencer Tart here as he's driving down into turn 1. Cothran has to let off just a bit, and Spencer is able to drive away without too much damage.
And we were just talking about Casey Drake being stuck back there after the last incident. He almost hit Thomas Harmon right square in the door. He was able to miss him.
Yeah, but he got hit.
Get checked up in time and ran into the back of him.
Well, that's a race-changing moment there, because Thomas Harmon, who had continually dropped back because of pit strategy, has now been involved. I mean, he wasn't involved. I think he didn't get too much damage, but he's going to keep dropping back. He's got a lot of work to do if he wants to make it up to front in 20 laps here. But with DRL TV is going to take a quick commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. When we get back, we're going to get this field sorted out and back under green here in the Pocono 175.
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Clapman is going to touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save.
Look to the outside as Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
Trying this contact though.
wide left of the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schubert, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And welcome back to DRL TV, ladies and gentlemen. The Pocono 175. We're starting to wrap up here. We've got 20 laps to go here at this massive 2.5 mile super speedway road course. Who knows? Either way, it's starting to look like almost like a short track today because of the amount of cautions that we've had involving multiple cars or multiple trucks rather. But still, we have a decent amount of people on the lead lap. But I'm telling you, right, if I'm Steven Sims, if I'm Marvin Wingfield, Jeremy Hebel, that pit strategy earlier certainly is paying off now.
Yeah, definitely. And they're the first two guys on the outside row. Hebel still has the slight body damage, but so far it hasn't affected him too badly. See someone blinking back in the back there. Yeah, the longest green flag run has been 6 laps.
Well, let's see if we can best that as Steven Sims, who's had terrific restarts all night, gets ready to shoot out of the gate here. Marvin Wingfield getting pushed by Jeremy Hebel. Adam Purcell in third. And we head down into turn 1 to see what kind of mayhem will happen this time.
Well, the last few times we've seen Sims get a great launch, but the field catch him right away. And here goes Wingfield. He's alongside of him. Well, I'm not sure.
He's not going to be able to do that crossover this time as the 58 was there. Wingfield is going to lose this drag race. He has the 79 has the 58 pushing him as we head into the tunnel turn.
Oh man, Adam Purcell looks like he lost the nose. Oh, and Sims didn't get off the corner that great. Wingfield's going to go around the outside to take the lead.
3 wide.
Oh, Jeremy Hebel gets turned around. Hard into the wall in turn 3. Once again, we don't make it a lap.
Well, as we watch from this view here, we can see Jeremy Hebel on the outside of the tunnel turn. He has to check up a little bit here, tries to go low, and Robbie Armstrong takes it inside.
We're almost 4 wide getting in there. A slight bit of net code with the 29 of Fareed, but you just can't fit that many trucks into turn 3 without something like this happening. That was almost a two. That was almost a 2 for FMS Racing, as Dakota Wilkins once again barely escapes.
But interesting development here. Let's go back to the replay, if I can. At the moment, I believe Marvin Wingfield had the lead. At the moment of that caution.
He definitely had Sims cleared.
And we're looking at the replay and that is when the caution comes out. So Marvin Wingfield will be our leader, and I believe this is the first race that he's been able to lead this season. Obviously, don't quote me on that. The Wingfield fans in the YouTube chat could certainly back me up whether I'm right or wrong there. But Marvin Wingfield out front here, and you know these restarts are becoming chaotic, but there's still so many laps to go. There's just absolutely no give at all. It's all take right now on these restarts. And Spencer Tart moves up to 3rd after all that.
Yeah, he made a big move underneath Purcell after he lost the nose in the tunnel turn, and that's what got Hebel seized up. He made a move to the inside to try to get away from the 58, and then Robbie Armstrong all of a sudden was to his inside. And yeah, there was a lot of people there.
So with that spin, that will move Jeremy Hebel back to the tail end of the lead lap, which currently is still a decent amount of people.
You know, I said it when we were calling it. I said he hit the wall pretty hard. It actually was kind of slight contact, considering what it looked like it was going to be, but still quite a bit of damage, particularly now on the left rear.
And if you're Jeremy Hebel in that situation, you know, he tries all day to stay out of the stuff and works his way up to the front after starting in the back, and it just definitely didn't pan out for him. As
even in that situation, he couldn't really. You could say, why doesn't he just back off and let him go? I mean, he couldn't really lift because the way the 29 was kind of forcing a hole that wasn't. It was kind of there, but not quite big enough for him to make it so it could work without anybody crashing.
Well, let's see.
Yeah, I mean, Hebel was just put in a really bad spot.
Let's see if we can actually pull in Jeremy Hebel there. Jeremy Hebel is a guy who likes to talk to us here in the booth. Jeremy Hebel, you got a copy, sir?
Unfortunately.
Well, right there, it's, you know, you had to burp the throttle there just a bit, and, you know, you're forced into a situation in 3, almost 4 wide. Not talking about the incident so much as we saw what happened clearly, but, you know, you started the day off with a certain, it seemed like you had a certain strategy. Kind of go through us with that.
Yeah, I assumed that this wasn't going to be a very pleasant race, so I wanted to start in the back and kind of be out of the way of the beginning shenanigans in hopes that they would wind down, but I mean, this race has honestly been a joke. I mean, I'm not enjoying myself, and that has just made it so much worse. We can't go longer than half a lap under green. This is just ridiculous.
Well, we've seen you work your way to the front before. Do you know how much damage you have? It doesn't look awful in the front. Obviously, your spoiler is a little, altered, I guess is the best way to say it. Do you have anything where you can make it through this field and get back up to the front and salvage your day?
I will definitely try. I mean, it was only 26 seconds of damage, and I see, quite a few trucks that got damage that are still fairly decent. So we'll see how it is once we go green here.
Well, Jeremy, I appreciate the time, and we'll move you back down to your team. Hopefully we talk to you at the end as a top 3 finisher, but if not, we'll see you next week at Texas, where I know, you're a very strong driver there at Texas. So good luck here in the rest of this race, and we'll see you when we see you.
All right, thanks.
And we can certainly understand this frustration with not only the wreck right there, but just how frustrating it is for everybody else in this field to go run
right.
like half a lap or just one lap and then get a caution.
Well, I mean, there's drivers like Richard Springer, Thomas Harmon, that are trying to get to the front, and you can't do that in a half a lap. You have to have some green flag laps, and currently we're just, we're not getting those. And Jeremy Hebel obviously upset, very disappointed, trying to, he got involved in the one thing he was trying to avoid. And, it just didn't quite work out tonight. And Jeremy Hebel has been feast or famine all season. One of the best drivers in the series. He has multiple wins, but he also has multiple, catastrophic finishes because of situations like this.
I mean, well, this one shouldn't really say it's his fault. I mean, he was just put in a very bad situation with people getting seized up in front of him and other drivers bearing down on him in a corner where you can't go more than 2 wide. We saw them try to make it almost 4 wide, and obviously that did not work. But I'm going to be curious on this restart with 15 laps to go to see Marvin Wingfield, what he can do on this launch, because we've seen Steven Sims, when he controlled the restart, get a terrific launch and then have the pack kind of running back down.
Yeah, no, and Marvin Wingfield, he just ran. I knew he was fast in practice. We saw that with he was up at the top of the leaderboard. And obviously, that only goes off of hot lap speed. But right now, up front, he was able to get past Steven Sims just before that caution came out, and is able to not only lead these laps, but hopefully lead some green flag laps.
And also, to answer your question, Getty, he actually led 5 laps at Talladega, so this is the second race this year he's led, but certainly a terrific opportunity for him. Best finish, actually finished 3rd at Kansas. Yeah, last race at Charlotte was his first race in 5 races that he finished outside the top 10, so he's been on a roll when he gets a good start. Goes up to the outside lane. Still drops down behind Tart, leaves Sims out there on the high side. Oh, Tart bobbles a little bit. That's going to allow Sims to get him run on the outside and clear him. Wingfield, a little defensive right there.
And we apologize for the technical difficulties there. We are now couldn't get off of Jeremy Hebel as we were watching the battle for the lead now.
Sims drives it really deep into turn 3.
And Wingfield's not giving him any space.
He's getting it right over on that right rear quarter panel. That's pulling him back ahead at the line. Wingfield that led that lap by 0.005 of a second.
And Spencer Tart's looking for a place to go.
Oh, we got another spin in the back. Caution is out again. Trying to determine who was leading at the point of caution right there. That looked really close. I would assume, I guess I would assume Wingfield, the way Sims is letting him go.
And we're here watching what happened here. The 72 moves up and just takes out his teammate Bill Edwards.
Oh, I think, did he get a bump from Hebel right there?
It didn't, from that last view, it didn't quite look like it. We're gonna.
Maybe some neck code, I'm not sure.
It seemed like Matt Vanderkoy in the 72 was just trying to give him space, or he was surprised that the one was there, and
Greg Meyer was
I tell ya,
that one as well.
Let's go on board with David Wellborn here. I think he made some moves to get through this one.
Yeah,
As we're riding on board with him now here, David Wellborn.
I mean, he's 19 laps down, but that doesn't mean there's still action going around his truck.
Lord have mercy. So a good move by David Wellborn there to make sure he doesn't receive any more damage, as he was involved in an earlier wreck that took out one of the faster guys in the field, Robbie Oddie. But with this last caution here, it's going to put us with 12 laps to go. We'll get about 10 laps to go. When we get the restart, DRL TV will be right back, ladies and gentlemen, when we return. Hopefully some green flag racing and the end of the Pocono 175. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pocono 175. A common scene tonight, pacing trucks, and that will be the story of this race easily. As Marvin Wingfield does lead the field currently, we should be getting the one to go right now-ish. Steven Sims in second, Adam Purcell, Spencer Tart in third, Adam Faree round out our top five. I'd like to take this moment to pull up the credits here for our broadcast. These are all the names and individuals involved in the Dynasty Racing League and Dynasty Racing League TV. This is what makes it happen. So a huge tip of the cap to all those gentlemen there. James Pandolf being the founder of the league, our broadcasting team, our race control team, and our admin team. Very important part of keeping this series going. We have 3 series that go all year long. And, we've gone non-stop basically for 2 years here on DRL TV with our Winter Series, our Road Series that we had, our Indy Series, our 3 Stock Car Series. But I can say tonight has been kind of a tough one as these guys continue to go around Pocono at 70 miles an hour versus the 180 that Taylor had mentioned earlier in the broadcast that was expected. But we have 9 laps to go. The intensity, I can't imagine, is going to, diminish at any point. But hopefully, these drivers are a little bit smarter with their moves as we are. We're getting ready to go green here. Hopefully, for the last time. Again, if we get another, if we do get a caution inside 2 to go, we do have that green-white checkered in our back pocket. But right now, Marvin Wingfield will lead Steve Sims to the green with some hungry drivers behind him.
Yeah, I'm keeping my eye on Spencer Tart right here. He's going to be bold and aggressive. Wingfield gets another great start. Sims did not get that great start, and Tart's hanging behind him.
As we watch this whole field fan out and head into turn 1 here.
Oh, Richard Springer way up the track.
So Springer will lose a lot of spots here.
No harm, no foul, but Wingfield's got a pretty sizable lead considering just a half lap after the restart.
Yep, and it's only going to get bigger as they are 2 by 2 behind him. Heading into the... Tart!
Faree gets turned.
Tart turns Faree.
More crashing. Jeffrey Meyer, the points leader. And again, we don't make it a lap.
Let's get a quick look there.
We saw the 29. He was the first one to get spun. He got a bump from Spencer.
Yeah, Spencer turns the 29, but it's what happens behind him that is more notable here. Looking at Jeffrey Meyer, who, again, he is our points leader, as Taylor just mentioned, and we see the 29 get turned. The 50 kind of gets into the 68 of Thomas Harmon. Sine gets into him. Sine gets shot from Richard Springer.
Just a big-time chain reaction.
Well, what that's going to do is that's going to give Spencer Tart the EOL, which basically... I mean, that all but ends his race, because that's certainly a bump from Tart there. Also affected greatly are Jeffrey Meyer, now currently scored in 21st.
With some pretty noticeable damage on the left front corner and in the left rear.
But as a fan, me and Taylor, it's our job to broadcast you, whatever these drivers put out, and today's product has been very, very messy. But one person that does not care about what's going on right now is this gentleman right here, Marvin Wingfield, who continues to stay. He keeps fending these guys off on the restarts. He continues to stay out front, and regardless of how dissatisfied some drivers and fans would be with this style of racing, with this amount of pacing, and with the fact that I've been repeating commercials,
Yes.
Marvin Wingfield just does not care, because if he wins this race, no matter what happens, no matter what kind of race this was, A, he's in the playoffs, and B, he is a DRL winner for the first time. And looking at the top 5 here, let's pull up our point standings. Marvin Wingfield would be a new winner. Adam Purcell would be a new winner. Steven Sims would be a new winner. So right now, Robbie Armstrong also, I mean, we're kind of we're in a good position to get our 8th different winner of the season, which is kind of unheard of considering the amount of winners that we had last season. And you look at other series, there's so many repeat winners, but in this Truck Series, it has been parity, in its purest definition. But yeah, like I said, Marvin Wingfield, he doesn't care how many cautions there are, as long as he is exactly where he is, leading this field to the green, gets those great jumps on the start there. So I know we got some Wingfield fans in the YouTube chat. I don't think that your voices go unnoticed. So
I'd be pretty excited if I were them. And the way he's been handling himself on these restarts, and he's got a really good shot at becoming the first-time winner in as many races with Austin Collins the last race at Charlotte. Along with possibly Adam Purcell or Steven Sims, and as weird as this is to say, because he was last year's champion, Robbie Armstrong.
yeah, no, absolutely. Our first, we're discounting Spencer Tart because he's not a points regular, but looking at Dakota Wilkins would be, he's in 6th. He's the first driver that has won.
That has a win.
Yeah, that has a win this season.
Opener, and has had a pretty, not the greatest season since. So this would be a good recovery, especially since he started back with Jeremy Hebel, his teammate, way back in the 32nd position, and he has dodged several bullets tonight to put himself in this position to restart in 6th.
No, and that is absolutely correct. And it's weird, 2 drivers have the same strategy, and it works for one, and it certainly didn't for the other. Talking about Jeremy Hebel, and just you think about in the middle stages of this race, we talked about Bad Boys Racing being 1, 2, 3. Well, that is certainly not the case anymore. Steven Sims leads that Bad Boys group by being in 3rd, but since then, Jeffrey Meyer, who was just involved in that last incident, and Daniel Holloway, who we haven't really mentioned tonight.
He's got some damage on the back end. He got involved in the deal with over in turn 1. Can't really pinpoint which one it was because there's been so many, but he's still in 12th position though, and Hebel's still in 13th. Casey Drake's still in 14th despite all their troubles, so they're not giving up.
Mm-hmm. No, and those drivers that were involved in the first caution or two have obviously had plenty of time to get damage fixed, and as Jeremy Hebel mentioned, there's still a lot of trucks here that have some damage that are still seemingly competitive. Of course, we wouldn't know that recently because we haven't really gotten up to speed, Taylor. But
that's right. Well, and we'd still talk about the point situation. Despite all of these crashes, there's still 21 people on the lead lap. So there's still a potential for someone who's running in the back to pick up some more points, and someone up at the front, if they get themselves in some trouble, a chance to lose some points. So I mean, we're not done talking about these point situations just yet. I mean, these last 4 laps, if it should stay green, hopefully it does. I mean,
Right.
it's going to get chaotic.
But, you know, looking at our top 5 now, obviously Marvin Wingfield, Adam Purcell, Steven Sims have been the top 3 for most of it. But look who's back up in 6th, and that's Thomas Harmon. And, you know, that's a great rebound from him. Obviously, Thomas Harmon, he kind of got spun there, so we're not quite sure what shape his tires are in. And also, Terrence Sine is in, he's in position to have a pretty good finish here as well.
He's someone who really needs one. He's had an abysmal start to this season.
Yeah, no, there's a handful of drivers that, you know, their picture is next to the definition of bad luck. Certainly, he, you know, is, you know, earned that right to be, you know, given that title as a driver with awful luck this season. But here we go. 4 laps to go. Marvin Wingfield, he is gone as he gaps the 58 and the 79, heading down here into turn 1.
Wilson by 4 or 5 truck lengths again.
Now, one thing you got to be careful of is these drivers haven't pitted in a while, so some of these guys might have a little bit more tire wear than they think, as Harmon splits Robbie and Dakota both.
And he gets down and clears everybody right there. And Purcell is drafted right back up to the bumper of Wingfield.
As we will fixate
Oh,
our...
someone in the wall up in the tunnel turn.
Well, we are going to keep our...
straight for now.
We're going to keep our eyes on this battle. 4 laps to go. The 58 slides up just a bit. 79 gets low. Thomas
there
Harmon.
they go again. Adam Free again. Another huge pile up. Oh, they're still piling in. Jeffrey Meyer gets involved again.
Lord have mercy.
And we will
The damage.
have our first green-white checkered in Dynasty Racing League history coming up. God, who is left in this race? Oh, they're still crashing under caution here in turn 1. Spencer and David Wellborn.
And Chris James gets up into the 29 of Adam Faree, and 45 goes for a ride. Oh my God. Gentlemen, please.
I'm looking at this deal after the caution comes out between Spencer and David, and to say that was unintentional is, yeah, I'm not going to say that. I'll put it that way. I'm sure those 2 drivers will have some words later on, as well as probably race control. Well, how about the drivers that got through that last crash? Hebel scored in 7th, Casey Drake in 8th, Rogers 9th.
Well, absolute mayhem has plagued Pocono, Pennsylvania, or Long Pond, Pennsylvania.
There's no other word to describe it. I mean, I haven't seen anything like this anywhere, ever.
But just because we can, we're gonna make history here in Dynasty Racing League here tonight. This will be our first ever attempt at green-white checkered. iRacing just implemented that change to the service 2 days ago, and you know what, DRL, we do things the right way. We want to test everything out, so we're going to test it out tonight, Taylor.
Yes. I mean, if anything positive could be taken away from the night, I mean, we did have a DRL first. We still might have another DRL first with if we can have another first-time winner here.
Well, one driver that didn't want to see that caution was Thomas Harmon. We saw that he was in prime position to try to...
I'll tell you what, though. He's... I know you say that, but he made some nice moves on the start before the wreck happened, and he's sitting in 4th right here.
Yeah, so Harmon going trying to make it 2 for 2 this week, as Marvin Wingfield is trying to avoid that situation and try to get a win of his own. And, you know, Thomas Harmon, as fast as he is, he's still got 3 hungry drivers, or he's got 2 hungry drivers to get to before Marvin Wingfield, and that is, of course, assuming that we go green throughout that whole experience, because the next flag after the green-white checkered, that is the race. That ends it. You know, we only have 1 attempt here, and tonight I'm actually very thankful that that's the case, that we only have 1 attempt, as Pocono has been just a devastating event for most of these drivers and for the broadcasters, because my goodness, this is a lot of yellow flags, Taylor.
Well, one thing to touch base on, see guys in the chat asking if we can get a replay of what happened between Spencer and Wellborn. I went back and looked at it. Tart, I have no clue how he made it through the wreck. He dodged like 5 people, but afterwards, Tart eventually got into David Wellborn, kind of not quite accidentally, but looking back on it, Wellborn kind of got into him first. So
yeah, well, if you do go back, I did replay it in the blimp cam. You can see Tart's very bright yellow truck driving along, and Wellborn just going up and giving him a little smooch there. You know, moving on past that here, it does say final lap, ladies and gentlemen. Our broadcasting technology has not been up, you know, is not up to green, white, checkered, you know, knowing exactly what that is just yet here, so.
We'll get that taken care of sooner or later, though. But, I just mentioned that Terrence Sine was on the, perhaps got a chance to turn around some luck and get a solid finish, but that went out the window too, as his truck basically got destroyed in that wreck.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show our TV spot and highlight our 3 series, the schedule of our 3 series, and that way you guys can keep up with what happens here in Dynasty Racing League. So DRL will be right back after a 60-second break. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to DRL TV. It says unofficial results. Ignore that. That is actually a lie. We are going to get our first green-white checkered here. Our only attempt, so we're going to get this green flag. The next flag ends it regardless, or the next, you know, checkered or any other flag will end it. Marvin Wingfield trying to hold on to get his first DRL win here in the in the Truck Series, but he's also got 2 other the drivers behind him trying to get their first win in Adam Purcell and Steven Sims. Pace car ducks off.
Another good start.
A good start by Marvin.
Look at Harmon though, he's trying to squeeze and make a hole for himself. And he got clear of the 79. And he's clear of the 58 too. He's up to second.
58's going to try to cross him over. One thing Thomas Harmon has is for those fresh tires.
Harmon blocks him, blocking him all the way down the straightaway. They make it through the tunnel turn. Far so good.
Marvin Wingfield
White flag this time.
trying to hold off the advancing Thomas Harmon, as they will get the white flag this time by Thomas Harmon.
He's within striking distance. He's got a big opportunity here to steal this one away from Wingfield. He's right there within a truck length and a half. Look at the move he makes, how deep he drives it into turn one. He turns him sideways.
No, man, that's unfortunate.
Oh, he gets hit again. We're still green though. He's coming back to the checker no matter what. Oh, what a tough break for Wingfield as Harmon. Just 2 more corners to negotiate. And he's going to make it 2 in a row.
Well, we know that Thomas Harmon, he
on Steven Sims here.
He doesn't mind ruffling some feathers, and tonight is certainly an example of that, as Thomas Harmon will drive off and get his second Truck Series race of the season.
Unofficially at the line, Sims, Purcell, Hebel finishes 4th. Wow. And Wilkins 5th.
Now, one thing to make a note of, that's technically a wreck caused. I'm not sure if race control is going to look at that. But either way, Thomas Harmon currently being scored as the winner. Marvin Wingfield, absolute heartbreak. And we will get our post-race reactions, interviewing our top 3 drivers here in just a moment. But
he's going to drop from battling for the win, and he's going to come across the line and be scored in 13th position. Boy, that's tragic right there.
Well, let's here in a second we're going to start pulling in our drivers: Adam Purcell, Steven Sims, and Thomas Harmon. Adam Purcell, if I can find him, he finishes 3rd. I can't find him.
He's right up there in Do Not Disturb right there.
Oh, well, we're going to disturb him. Adam Purcell, do you have a copy, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yep, yes, sir, we can. Congratulations on 3rd place finish. You were up front most of the day here. Tell us how your race went.
Oh, I started off in the front. I ended up getting into a little push battle with Jeffrey at the beginning there. And I knew that this race was going to come down to a lot of cautions, as it did. So I just wanted to keep the track position. Track position was all about it today. And as long as you had track position, you could run up in the front. And that's how I was able to get the finish up here in the top 3.
Well, we noted at the top of the broadcast, you're certainly in need of some good runs here. You've had some bad luck, and this is a great points day for you as we move on to Texas here. If you can, give us a shout out here for anyone that might be watching.
I can just say my friends Comic and Connor might be watching. Don't know, it's late out now. But thank you for letting me race here and bringing me into the broadcast booth after this top 3. Congrats to Thomas Harmon for that win.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Adam, it's always a pleasure, buddy, and we will talk to you the next time, and we'll see you next week at Texas.
Thank you.
Now let's pull in now our runner-up finisher of the night, Steven Sims, right down here in Bad Boys Racing right here. Steven, you got a copy? Use the booth.
Yes, sir.
Well, you led for a little while. Really got some great launches on the restarts and took advantage of Wingfield and Harmon getting together there and coming home in second. Tell us how you managed to get through that and take us through your night in general.
Started decent. Started 3rd. Just up front all night, top 5. Never really got below that. And of course, didn't have much of a chance to really pass anybody because a lot of cautions tonight. But I had a problem all night getting from 3rd to 4th gear, and that's where I was getting killed on the restart. So I would and just got freight trained on that last restart and got gifted by the 68 turning the I forgot Wingfield and gained 3 positions out of it. So I'm not complaining.
Yeah, you made a nice move to get around that wreck. We'd spoken to Jeremy Hebel earlier, and he was, well, needless to say, very frustrated on how the race was going, not able to get into a rhythm. I'm sure that had to frustrate you as well, did it not?
I mean, I'm not as mad as Hebel is. You know, I don't really mind this. It gives you, I'm not good at long runs anyway, so I mean, it benefits me when races are like this. So I'm not really mad at it.
Well, Steven, you were up front all day. You played your cards correctly, and then we move on to next week at Texas. Is Texas a track that you enjoy? You maybe got a little something for these guys?
I'm about average at that track. I mean, I'll be top 10, but I won't. I'm not. It's not one of my best tracks, but we'll see what we have. Maybe in the right situation, we can get a win.
Awesome, Steven. Well, we appreciate your time. Give us any shots that you might have.
Yeah, you guys, the league admins, teammates, and everybody that puts this thing together.
Awesome. Well, Steven, we appreciate your time. We will hopefully speak with you next week at Texas when we go there for 100 laps at that big old oval, man.
10-4, thank you.
All right, now the time to bring in our winner for the 2nd day in a row, Thomas Harmon. You got a copy, sir?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you win 2 days in a row here at Pocono, but not without some controversy. Take us through your vantage point on what happened on the last lap with Wingfield.
Well, I knew I was. Oh, hold on here. These guys are talking. I gotta mute. But I knew I had better tires than those guys, and I could drive it in deeper in one, which is what I wanted to do. And I did send it in there a little bit deeper, and I saw he was trying to come down to block, and I was going to let him have the block because I knew I was going to get him out of 2 because that's where I've been killing him on those last few restarts. And when I got into him, I was out of the throttle and not what I wanted to do. But I mean, I feel bad for him getting turned, but at the same time, it wasn't really my fault.
Well, Thomas, you've certainly shown that you can get through Pocono in the B Series, in the trucks as well. When we rerun the Monday race, is this a place where you think you can, navigate the A cars just as well as these other 2?
In the couple leagues I ran before this week, I definitely enjoyed the A car at Pocono, and I look to be towards the front there, barring any incidents that keep me in the...
Awesome, Thomas. Well, congratulations on the win, of course. Again, strutting your stuff here at Pocono. You had a very eventful race today, moving throughout the field, because of strategy or getting spun or, what have you. So give us any shouts that you might have here as you are, as you've won your 2nd race of the season here in the Truck Series.
Shout out to you guys up in the booth for broadcasting it to all the fans, all the admins and competitors in DRL, and all the guys in S2R, and shout out to Marvin. It's not something I wanted to fight him. I didn't want to turn him, and he ran a good race, and I feel bad for taking a good run away from him.
Well, Thomas, again, strutting your Pocono stuff here, buddy. We will see you next week at Michigan in the A car. Otherwise, you have a good week, and we'll talk to you the next time we talk to you.
All right, have a good one. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, no problem. And that was Thomas Harmon, our race winner. He, he was our pole sitter, or he wasn't our pole sitter. He started on the outside row with Robbie Oddie being our pole sitter here tonight. Again, we pull up the names of the people that are involved here in the Dynasty Racing League, all the admin, broadcast team, including myself, and Taylor Butcher Benjamin alongside me, always on Wednesdays. Taylor, have any final thoughts here for our Pocono race?
Well, I predicted that it would not go caution free like it did yesterday. I didn't think we would have this many yellow flags. I mean, this was quite the show, I must say, and perhaps get all this stuff out of their system and maybe have a better race next week at Texas. But it just shows just how wild this truck series in the Dynasty Racing League really is.
Well, that week off certainly didn't taper any of the aggression that we've seen the last few weeks in the truck series. As we're looking at the final results, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for tuning in to our broadcast here on DRL TV. As always, myself, Taylor Benjamin, very grateful for the viewers that tune in to watch your favorite driver. If you like tonight's broadcast, or if you like, again, a specific driver that races in Dynasty Racing League, make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell icon. And we will see you next week in Texas Motor Speedway. Same time, same place. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. I'm Getty Buckner. We'll catch you next week.